I think the problem with simplified fighting game controls isn't really anything mechanical in the game itself. The real problem is with the players, and there's two sides to that. On one hand, it's human nature to want to not use it. It's hard to put yourself in a position where you're an outsider to a community, even if that's a known fact. Picking a simplified control scheme when given the choice is basically declaring that you're the odd one out. And the people who see this declaration is the other half of the problem. The FGC, or at the very least the vocal minority on Twitter, has practically made it tradition to bully beginners, giving players all the more reason to prioritize saving face over having fun. With that in mind, I'd say that the option for simplified control schemes should continue to exist and even spread in usage, but the control scheme selection should be hidden knowledge, like team order in some fighting games. By that, I mean there's nothing in-game that actively tells anyone what control scheme a player is using. While some might say this will cause more problems than it'll fix, or there's not even a problem with simplified controls at all, I'd like to share my quick story with it first. In college, I was a part of the fighting game club, where the main game that people played was Guilty Gear Xrd. Despite having no experience with Xrd or even knowledge about it, I just wanted to play fighting games with other people. So after introductions with the obligatory "I've never played this game before," I sat down with one of them for a game. And on the character select screen was my very first encounter with selecting a control scheme. I had the option to pick the standard technical scheme or the simplified stylish scheme. And they went ahead and explained everything to me and what it all meant, eventually ending it off with "just pick the technical controls, you'll figure it out." And so I did. I picked the standard technical control scheme and toughed it out, just like someone would in the arcade days. Fast forward a few months, a similar situation came up when the BlazBlue Central Fiction rollback update came out. Naturally, all of my friends wanted to give it a shot, myself included, and once again, this would be my first time playing that game. And once again, on the character select screen was another control scheme selection. Almost instinctively, I ignored it and mashed my way through the menu to start the game with standard technical controls, not even batting an eye at the very control scheme made for beginners. Then I toughed it out, just like someone would in the arcade days. So what went wrong? Why did the very person these simplified control schemes are made for not pick that control scheme? For me, it was all about inclusiveness. While I could smile and laugh at myself for being bad since I'm a beginner, my own pride stopped me from picking a simplified control scheme. From a personal standpoint, there was absolutely no way that I was going to outright declare that I was so hopeless that I needed to turn the game into a one-button masher. It made me worried that each of my wins would be invalid since I'm not using what's normal. The last thing I wanted was to trample the pride of another through these invalid victories, especially since I know that they're using the standard control scheme and that I know that they want me to use the standard control scheme. In the end, I just wanted to have fun and not worry about that kind of stuff, so I grit my teeth and toughed it out, just like someone would in the arcade days. And that's exactly where I think another part of the problem lies. The community and its arcade days. Fighting games are a long-standing genre with some of the most grassroots origins out of any community ever. Just a bunch of kids with time to burn and quarters to spend. It was normal to walk up to an arcade cabinet and just accept that you'll have to mash your way through each game, but it was fine since it was all just for fun. But in the year 2022, that mindset that had grown from necessity has turned into tradition. There's absolutely zero need for a beginner to feel completely lost in fighting games where simplified controls exist. And since we're now buying full $60 investments instead of one-quarter romps, a player should have every right to play the way they want to with whatever they think is fun. And if that means running with simplified controls, why should they feel pressured to do otherwise? Yet, whenever the option exists, an argument breaks out. And whenever the option is selected, it must be declared to all and denounced by all. And my question is, why? Why does there need to be a right way to play the game? Why do beginners get the hand-wavy response of "just pick technical controls"? Why do I need to feel this pressure to perform on the same playing field as everyone else when the playing field was uneven to begin with? All of this leads me to believe that there's nothing really wrong with simplified controls themselves. They do what they're intended to do if they are allowed to. However, the real problem comes from giving a player the bravery to pick a control scheme they truly think is best for them. And that's why I say it should be a hidden selection. No cursor, no status messages, no highlighted names, no indication for the other player of what was picked. Just present the option and push 1 for yes and 2 for no. And when it comes to tournaments or online play, I say let them play however they want. Simplified controls are inherently balanced from the fact that they were made for beginners. Just by design, many options and choices are taken away, and that's a perfectly fine trade-off for ease of mind and ease of use. Of course, developers still have to keep balance in mind for charge inputs and whatnot, but there's no threat to competitive integrity, as if the revolutionary new meta would be having pros play on stylish mode. A win shouldn't be any less valid for being easier. If anything, it must have been harder from the fact that they're practically fighting with one hand tied behind their back. And for the people who still don't want to play against people using simplified controls, you have the same right as any to play the game the way you want. So yeah, having an option to not play against those people online is perfectly fine. So I say, keep the simplified inputs the same mechanically, let people use it in tournament and online, just hide the fact that they are using them. People can find their own fun in fighting games and shouldn't have to worry about what others think is the right way to play. And whenever they're ready, if they're ever ready, just like training wheels, they can switch off of simplified controls. And yes, they'll stumble and fall and put back on the training wheels if they really want to. But simplified controls can serve to be a valuable learning tool to get started in fighting games, if not for you, then at least for someone. And the last thing the new kid on the block needs when trying to make friends is to be pointed at and laughed at for still having the training wheels on. So while I think the real problem is still housed in the players and the community themselves, at the very least, the game should do the beginners a favor and help them feel even the slightest bit more comfortable by hiding the control scheme that anyone is using. Thanks for watching.